Coming up, we'll cover the rest of the preparation steps for Office deployment and management, inventory and readiness, add-in and macro compatibility, and more, as well as the configuration prerequisites you need to be aware of as part of your Office deployment and management. So with the top considerations behind us, we're going to start by finding and assessing compatibility of COM add-ins and VBA macros with newer versions of Office. Now the good news here is that more than 99% of your existing add-ins and macros will continue to work if you're coming from Office 2010 or newer, and when you install a matching architecture of Office. As you can see here, where 100% of my add-ins on this machine are supported. Now, despite the high level of compatibility of Office COM add-ins and macros, there are new capabilities in SCCM to inventory and assess compatibility. Additionally, the Readiness Toolkit for Office, as you can see that I'm installing here, can also be used standalone or together with SCCM to provide additional insights for VBA macro compatibility. Now with Configuration Manager version 1902, we added built-in support to inventory and assess Office COM add-ins against known compatibility information. And this extends SCCM's native hardware inventory capabilities. So here to configure that, we just have to go into our Office 365 Pro Plus client settings. Then we go into hardware inventory and enable that. Now once we've done that, we can actually go in and set the classes. So to do that, I'm going to click on hardware inventory and I'm going to go into set classes. And now here, we've just got to locate the Office add-in settings. So in my case, you can see it's already configured, so I'm good to go. I'm already collecting information on add-in compatibility. Also in 1902 and newer, Configuration Manager will download a copy of known compatibility information from Microsoft to perform a local query against compatibility information against your inventoried Office COM add-ins. Now this approach again does not necessitate that Office client or add-in information is sent up to Microsoft Cloud Services in order to assess compatibility. And you can access this information as part of the Office Client Management Dashboard. And that's all part of Configuration Manager, and you can drill into the lists of add-ins that are found in Software Inventory that we saw earlier, and you'll also use this information to prioritize testing of the most commonly used add-ins, especially in cases where there isn't known compatibility information, such as in cases where you've maybe developed in-house COM add-ins. Now for VBA macros, SCCM's expanded inventory capability does not discover VBA macros themselves, but you can discover which computers have recently run macros. Now with that, you can actually create a device collection, and then once you've created that collection, you can use the integration with the Readiness Toolkit for Office to discover and assess compatibility of macros on those computers that have run macros. Now this is often just a small subset of your managed PCs. Now when you run the Readiness Toolkit for Office using SCCM, data will be logged into SCCM databases, and from there you can discover VBA macros with potential issues, along with corresponding RTO data on those issues. Now while I've explained what's inside SCCM for COM add-in compatibility and how you can use the Readiness Toolkit for Office in the context of SCCM, you can also use the Readiness Toolkit for Office standalone to check a handful of PCs to validate its findings before you distribute it out to a large collection of computers. So now let's move on to look at prerequisites for configuring our deployment. If you're not already using Office 365 Pro Plus, you'll first want to begin by opening up the right ports, protocols, and URLs for Click-to-Run and related services to function properly. Now all this is very well documented at aka.ms/Office endpoints. Now if you're using Office 365 Suite, Visio Online, or Project Online, you'll also want to make sure that your targeted users are in Azure Active Directory and that you've licensed them to be able to activate Office and Visio and Project using their sign-in information. Now you want to get the full capability of Office 365, so it's a good idea that you also have OneDrive and Teams, SharePoint, Exchange, and all the other licenses configured as well. If you're moving from 32-bit to 64-bit Office, there's also a new option to migrate architecture called Migrate Arc. Now this allows you to target PCs with existing 32-bit installations, and any setting will be carried over automatically to 64-bit, such as the apps themselves, the exclusions that you've set up, or any other install time settings. Now you'll need to layer in any additional 64-bit COM add-ins as required as part of an app installation sequence. And finally, and as you can see here with our deployment task sequence, if you're deploying Office as part of an operating system deployment using custom imaging, we recommend that you don't pre-install Office within that custom image, but instead layer in required apps as part of the installation task sequence as well as add-ins. In fact, the next step in our series, we're going to go in depth on all the deployment tools and considerations as part of your upgrade. So now we've covered your preparation steps, and keep watching for parts 4 and 5 in our series to learn everything you need to know about deploying click-to-run Office apps at scale and how to manage Office post-deployment. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.